Okay, I wanted to do a couple algebraic ones. So when I'm asked, this is asking me for the radius. Okay, I've got a spherical balloon, that's my ball, sphere is the ball. Alright, so I know I'm doing this guy here. But normally I'm plugging in a radius to that equation to find a volume or surface area, and I'm pushing enter on my calculator and I'm done, right? The setup is the hard part. When I'm asked for something that normally I plug in, that tells me I'm probably going to need algebra. So let's see, I'm dealing with surface area of the sphere, and the surface area is 16 pi. So let's go look at my formula sheet. Okay, so surface area of a sphere. So here's my sphere, here's my surface area formula. So I'm going to start by writing that down. 4 pi r squared. So again, normally I know the radius, I put it here and I stick that on my calculator to find surface area, but they're giving me the surface area this time. So I'm going to go substitute that in and look what I have. Alright, there's only one variable left here. Pi is not a variable, it's a number. So I'm now able to do some algebra to get to my answer. What we've done in this pack is we've added some multiple choice answers, because really once you set it up you could work backwards, right? I'm looking for which one of these, 2, 3, 4, 8, which one's going to make this true. Alright, but the algebra on this is pretty simple. They both have a pi and they're both all multiplication, so I'm just going to divide to get rid of my pi's. So I have 16 equals 4r squared. Now, when I'm solving, I'm doing my order of operations backwards, so I'm going to actually divide first. The opposite of multiplication is division. And then my last step here, I don't have the radius yet. The answer is not C. I have radius squared. So the opposite of squaring is square rooting. And I get 2. Alright, so again I want to show you, if you were working backwards, you know how you would check this. You know that the surface area has to be 16 pi, right? And actually this is how you check it as well, not just working backwards. So I want to see 16 pi, does that equal what I got here with the radius being 2? So 4 pi 2 squared. 4 times pi times 2 squared. Yep, so my algebra looks good there. Or again, if I didn't want to do the algebra, technically I could have worked backwards at that point. So I'm going to do this other one that is, I apologize in advance about my really ugly worksheet here, but here's another solving one that I made up. And again, I've added multiple choice in the event you want to try and work backwards. So what am I looking at this time? This time I have a cone, and I'm given the volume. The volume is this. They also gave me the area of the base is this. What? That looks a little different. Alright, and they want the height. So the height is going to be my unknown, and that means I'm going to need algebra to solve this. I start with my cone volume formula. So I'm going to be right here, volume of a cone. So I'm going to write that down. Okay, so the volume was this. So this goes in for volume. And then I'm like, well, this is going to be what I'm solving for. So what's the radius? And that's when I realized this question is a little more complicated. So I can start by putting my volume in. Alright, and I'm kind of stuck here on radius, so I need to find that. So some students might actually, if they're very comfortable with their formula sheet and why these formulas are what they are, pi r squared, that is the area formula. Okay? What shape is my base? When it says the area of the base. In a cone, my base is a circle. So area of a circle is pi r squared. So if you notice that pi r squared is the area of a circle equation, you could just put 16 pi in for that whole thing. Now I think the majority of students aren't going to do it that way, so area of the base. 16 pi is the area of the base, so I'm going to come up here to my area of a circle. And I'm going to put 16 pi in for the area of my base, my circle. So 16 pi, and now I can solve for radius. I just did one similar to this. Okay, and then the opposite of squaring. So the radius is 4. And so now I can come over here and plug that in for radius. And now I'm solving for height. Now again, this looks pretty uncomfortable, so you could work backwards. I've given you that option. But knock out these pi's. This is all multiplication and that's all multiplication. Okay, that makes that a little bit neater. Now, I still don't like this mess over here, but I'm just going to put the rest of that on my calculator and see what happens. Will I get lucky? Is it going to be a pretty whole number? 1/3 times, I already got rid of the pi, so 4 squared. What's that mess? Yuck. Okay, so, I mean, it's going to be this, times h, so I can just do 144 divided by that. That's one way to do it. Personally, I like to go ahead and hit math, fraction, because fractions are prettier, neater to work with. 16 over 3 times h. Now, we're doing the opposite of multiplication here. We're dividing both sides by this fraction. Alright, when you're dividing by a fraction, you're multiplying by the reciprocal. So you might remember in algebra, the way to solve this is turn that fraction over, find the reciprocal, that gets rid of it on that side, and then you're multiplying the other side by 3 over 16. Times my fraction is 3 over 16. And I got 27. Okay, if you did 3 divided by 16 times 144, you're going to get the same answer. Okay, and again, I can check my solution, or if I wanted to work backwards, I know that what I was looking for is a volume of 144 pi, and I want to make sure my solution is correct for height. Now this doesn't totally check everything because we didn't check the radius over here, right? So you might want to go and check that on a separate, check that first. In other words, was this right? Is 16 pi, let me start over here actually. Let me start with checking the radius. 16 pi, so this one would be pretty tough to work backwards on since you don't have the radius. Pi times the radius I got was 4. Okay, so now I know my radius is correct. So now I'm going to come back to this to check the whole thing. So 144 pi was my volume. I'm going to put in my volume formula, 1/3 times pi times 4 is what I got, squared times, and I got 27 on the height. Alright, so that checks my solution there. Okay, we've got a couple more solving ones in here to practice.